The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. Chapter 23, King in Exile. Gold braved a look over the side of Spirit's neck, down at the lake far below them. Mount Mortar loomed ahead to the left, but the legendary bird's wings rose and fell until they were almost level with the peak. If Gold had ever known a fear of heights, it was always suppressed while Spirit was around. Now, he felt only exhilaration and the thrill of being alive. "Look at us! We're flying!" he exclaimed jubilantly, not even caring that he was stating the obvious. Spirit laughed from beneath him, and it was a noise of unbridled joy. "I have desired to do this with you for a long time," she said, in the same melodious voice that always seemed to echo. "And by the High King's grace, we will have one flight more before the end. Just the two of us." In spite of his soaring spirits, Gold found himself troubled by her last words. "What happens at the end?" he asked, before he could stop himself. Spirit only looked up at him. "That would be telling," she said, in a good-humored voice. "But, my dear precious Gold, let this moment linger. All things will work together for good in the end. Trust to it, and savor what we have now." Gold breathed deeply, and with effort released his trepidation for the future. Thankfully, it did not return, and he found himself caught up in the wonder of a bird's-eye view as the world passed below. To his credit, he managed to hold himself back for longer than the first time that Spirit had counseled him to savor the moment. Still, he would not be himself if his inquisitive mind did not burn with questions. "Spirit," he asked presently, "will Tom be okay? We just kinda left everyone behind." "Morty is with him," answered Spirit, "to remind everyone that you called for his mercy." "But Silver will be there too, won't he?" asked Gold with some anxiety. "I mean, I know you knocked him out of Kamen or something, but surely it will take more than that to get rid of him." "The Spirit does not lie," she replied. "Ecruteak City shall be the first place of refuge, now and forevermore. There is always warfare on the higher planes, and I have striven with Silver for many days and nights, beyond human sight and knowledge. For all his cunning, that fit of proud rage against your testimony proved to be his undoing. I was finally able to wrest Ecruteak from him, and he shall do no further harm to its people." Her answer, as always, contained more insights to it than Gold had expected. For one, when Proton had tried and failed to assassinate him, he had elected to blow up everyone in the vicinity rather than risk Gold's escape. It was a rash decision for someone who was normally so cool-headed. But looking back, Gold could see Silver's influence. The Lugia toyed with minds, and despised Team Rocket, even as pawns. Still, for the result to be the death of a human being, it was a matter of utmost gravity. Gold recalled something Spirit had said earlier, about how all things that happened were permitted by heaven. He wondered how the rules worked in the warfare on the higher planes, where things were limited and controlled so that they would not grievously affect everyday life. Though he would probably never understand, it was clear enough that something major had happened today, and they had won his hometown. Even so, he could not fully appreciate the victory. "I wish I could have gotten to see my dad," Gold murmured, looking back at the faint speck of the now distant city. "I'm glad that he never made it home by the time the rockets got in, but if I could have just talked to him for a minute, just to let him know that I was okay. I know, Spirit empathized, and Gold could sense that she meant it. I know, but there is no time to lose, not anymore. Silver is detained for a little while, and we must hasten eastward. The next task lies ahead, and it can no longer wait. It is why I swept you suddenly out of Ekritik as soon as your work there was finished. So that's what that was about, thought Gold. She was anticipating his questions. I don't suppose you can tell me where we're landing? The Lake of Rage. Gold's eyes widened. I've never been there. It sounds dangerous. Yes, and it has since become more dangerous. Spirit's voice turned grim. It was once a lake filled with harmless Magikarp and a sparse number of Gyarados. But ever since an unnatural radio wave flooded the area, the situation has reversed. Wait, so few Magikarp and many Gyarados now? Breathed Gold. The news struck him like a kick to the face. While Magikarp were famously known for being pitifully weak fish Pokemon, a determined trainer with enough patience could eventually condition them to burst free of their feeble bodies. Their evolved forms were nothing short of titanic, often extending to over 20 feet long and weighing in excess of 500 pounds. With atrocious temperaments to match their intimidating draconic appearances, they were rumored to be capable of leveling towns in a single day. Oh my god, whispered Gold, his forehead suddenly moist and his mouth dry. If Spirit spoke truly, and of course she did, this was going to be like the Steelix incident, multiplied by the dozens, possibly hundreds. And this time, the type advantage would be against them. He stared down at Spirit, hearing his blood pulsing in his ears. When did you find out about this? Years ago, she replied, tilting her wings downward. Back before Silver turned upon humanity, and on me. Indeed, it was from Silver's future sight that I learned of this event to come. From Silver himself? Gold thought. A flash of memory came, unbidden, to the forefront of his mind, and suddenly he recalled the Lugia's words. You haven't felt them, have you? The signal waves from the north. At the time, he had thought nothing of them. It was a vague line amidst abusive and threatening dialogue, followed shortly thereafter by several efforts to take his life. Strangely, like Spirit, Gold too had learned from him what was to come, in a way. So, however long ago, Silver predicted an event that would potentially destroy the entire region, said Gold, trying to keep a grasp on the sudden shift in perspective. Are you sure it wasn't a self-fulfilling prophecy? This sounds like the kind of thing he would set in motion if you managed to prevent him from raising a flood himself. Silver always has plans in motion, said Spirit. But he is not the source of this signal. It is disruptive to his psychic powers, and he would never trust in another influence beyond his own, even if it helped him in the moment. The two of them were now descending swiftly down the mountainside, and as the mists parted, the Lake of Rage came into view. Gold could see it rolling and churning in the distance. Moreover, he could make out distant figures of serpentine heads, dipping and rising in the water. Panic rose suddenly in his chest. Spirit, don't take us any closer! He pleaded, clutching her neck feathers tightly. If we fall within reach of all those Gyarados, they'll rip us apart! Gold, she replied in a soothing voice. Be strong and courageous. But this is crazy! He burst out. You knew the kind of place we were going to this whole time, Yet you let me sit and enjoy the flight like nothing was wrong? Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? At these last words, Gold's hysteria was quelled at once. He felt stricken by the irony of the situation. While the spirit was upon him, he had never succumbed to fear. But here he was now, literally upon spirit incarnate, and fretting about danger. It was such a bizarre thought that he laughed aloud, and the laughter brought relief to the tension in his body. He smiled a broad, almost mad smile as they drew low to the ground, closing rapidly upon the lake of sea monsters. I was wrong to doubt, Gold cried over the whistling wind. But I'm better now. I'll do whatever you tell me. Find the source of the signal, said Spirit, before giving him a sly look over her wing. And throw your stick onto the grass. Okay. Wah! The phoenix promptly barrel-rolled in the air, sending an astonished Gold tumbling and flipping through the tall grass. Her timing had been flawless, so that he fell as horizontally as possible into the softest cushion of grass. As soon as his body came to a stop, Gold pulled himself dizzily to his feet and watched Spirit soar off on wobbly legs. That really just happened, he thought, nearly falling over again as he watched her with amazement. Spirit's always been so serious, but after everything I thought I knew about her, it turns out she's got a cheeky side.